The most funny thing, it's under attack even from the spouses.
From within.
From within. And it is also under attack from the external environment. So we wouldn't say exactly who is attacking it, but even to some extent, we would say that the marriage is under siege. So what is happening? We are here to see, what is this? Are we not embracing transition? Are we handling marriage with the 20th or 19th century, reasoning and values and norms? Are we doing that? What value have we attached to marriage currently? And what value was attached to marriage in the days of old, in the days of our grandmothers, all right? And what are we not integrating into this marriage thing that is making it perform far less than the expectations of the spouses, and even the expectation of the families and the society? So I would say, yes, it is under attack.
Abog.
Nothing is further from the truth.
Yes.
That marriage is under attack. Why? Because marriage is never a man's idea. Marriage is a heavenly idea. And so based on that concept, there are definitely forces that are actually resonating, running parallel towards marriage. But also physical and psychological forces that are, ever, contending on towards marriage. And this need to be critically checked into. Necessarily, we always tell people that marriage is a determination, because it's a conspiration of the two who are actually from the opposite direction, trying on to be able to unify together and build a common purpose. You get to understand that you're not thinking the same, not reasoning the same, because you're not on the same background. So definitely there are struggles, and there are components of struggle that will try to devoid the grease of moving on together. So definitely marriage is under attack.
And there's someone who was actually saying, like, these days, when people get into relationships, they just say what they don't want.
Yes.
You're very quick to communicate what you don't want, but you don't go further to tell your partner what you would like. You live with expecting them to do this, do that for you, but you've told them what not to do, but you're not telling them what to do, what you would like, and living with expectations. Now, expectations on marriage, before we even get to the causes of divorce and all, expectations in marriage.
I would say expectations is what we would say, for those who do accounting, is the budgeted. Then when we get into marriage, we get the actual. Which is in most cases has a lot of deviation and variation. Like even those people who follow the Bible, you're told a man shall leave the father and the mother, and the girl will leave the father and the mother, and the two shall become one. One means I bring on board my expectations, a Bok brings on board his expectations, but at a certain level we decide this is the compromise. And people misunderstand the word compromise in marriage situation. They say, oh, compromising means if I was going to college, I stopped going to school. If I wanted to postpone having babies as a woman, the society does not allow me to, because people will start asking the man, Abok, you married recently, what is happening? You're not seeing the baby bump. So expectations. Sometimes they bring frustration, which by extension now spills over to the couple, the spouses. That brings resentment. So we've got unfinished business, we've got blaming game, shifted.
Unattended to feelings.
Yes, unattended to feelings. Because I came on board with expectations. When I get married, my life will get better. Better in a way, like if I came from home with a diploma, I expect this guy to pay for my degree.
And yet you haven't communicated that.
I've not communicated that. Those are my expectations. Like we come on board with a list. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so when I'm dealing with my man, I'm doing a checkup. You see the way teachers mark. And in most cases, because I never communicated my feelings and my expectations, all I do is cross.
X.
Education, cross. Loving, cross. And love is relative. These people hate me, yes. When I do my markup and I see 20/80, I say, oh, divorce.
Abok, why is it that we tend to communicate what we don't want, but we forget to say what we want, but you just expect your partner to fulfill all these things that you would hope to have in a relationship?
Yes. Number one is because of the perception that we have towards marriage. A perception in not far from what Anna has actually brought across. But of course, you know, you get to understand that as much as we are meant to compromise, there are egos and standards that relatively don't die. And they come on board. They're very much alive, yet they are actually not physical.
And personalities.
And personalities. So you discover that you have this, and they are really craving inside of you, but you want to portray them in a certain kind of a way. So for lack of a better word, you try to manipulate to fix them. So you ever trying until it happens. And you know, as much as we try to fix some things, marriage is a reality because it is a naked business. Are we getting one another? That's why you bring out the who you are. In fact, death and marriage more or less are the same thing. Why? Because when you're dead, you're placed there naked. When you're married, you are there naked. There is nothing that you're hiding. Yet, there are things that are eating inside of you. So, basically, you need to understand how to resonate what is seen and what is not seen. But in most cases, you will discover that what is not seen portrays beyond what is seen. I always tell couples that, you know what, it doesn't matter how you tell your partner that you love them. If you cannot be able to act love,
show them,
it remains a mystery.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, let's just start by, you know, we're talking about marriage, divorce, but maybe a viewer out there might not really understand what constitutes of a marriage or divorce. Let's start with marriage in itself. In the most basic and in layman's language, what would you define as marriage?
I would define it as just coming together of two adults. Why I say adult? Because we should be of legal age. Like I cannot marry my 13-year-old daughter to a man who is 50, because those two people have to have sat together at some instance, though we have the ones who met last night and they married today. I don't know what we call that. They should be united and they should be consenting. And of course, they should be of the right mind. Isn't it about?
Mind.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you are not in your right mind, then I get into marriage, then it will not work. We've killed it before we've started it.
Okay.
So it's a union, yes, that is one. And they have to be two consenting, and they have to be of legal or majority age or the right age. And of course, those two people have to be in their sound mind, of course.
All right.
Yeah.
Abok, anything you'd like to add into, you know,
Yes, now that
definition
Anna has
of
actually brought
marriage?
it on the psychological aspect, why can I also throw in some spiritual aspect?
Yes,
Please do.
That marriage is a reflection of God.
Yes.
Elaborate, please.
Because marriage is based on love. Love originates from God. So marriage must mirror who God is, because marriage is based on love. Two people cannot come together unless they love one another. Now, it is a mutual understanding concept with a purpose. Now, the greatest challenge of marriages today is the lack of purpose. Why? Because I saw a figure 8 and a love. I felt like I cannot do without this one. Now, when figure 8 changed to Fanta Madiaba, things get messed up. Why? Because the purpose is not really adhered to. And you know, you're still looking on for the Coca-Cola bottle when the things are already changed. So the purpose is very important. What can be able to make the purpose still originate is the concept of the mirroring of the image of the source of love.
So your intentions when you're getting into marriage should be very clear, and you know, you should know what you're going into marriage for, because if it's just what you see, the physical will wither, and then what are you left with? All right.
Yeah.
Now, we are talking about divorce today, and also we'd like a definition of what divorce entails before we get deeper into the discussion. Let me hear from you, Anne. Let's start with you. What's your understanding of divorce?
Thank you. The way I understand divorce, it's in a way, I would say it's separation. Yeah. It's an annulment of a marriage that has been existing for reasons best known either to the spouses or reasons that have come up, and now the marriage it is not right for that marriage to continue.
Okay.
But some people are also what we call, I would say some people divorce you, but physically you are together. I would bring that, now that is a psychological aspect, where because of that built up of resentment, built up of emotions, I close up I close myself down, but I still remain married because of the society expectations. But I would say that divorce is an annulment of that marriage.
All right.
Either legally or by the spouses also wanting for it to end for reasons that some are not, they are not right, they were not in the right mind when they made this decision. Oh, people have realized, even the relatives, that if these people continue staying together, then there might be death, physical, there might be depression, there might be so far-reaching, there are reasons, actually. I would say divorce is that separation or an annulment, and it is, with divorce, let people get the difference. It's not that we are divorcing and then there is a future. People divorce and go their ways.
Separate ways.
Yeah.
Now, there are three terminologies that are mostly confused and, used interchangeably, yet they're not meaning the same. We're talking about divorce, separation, and annulment. Now, divorce is the legal dissolution of a marriage.
Dissolution of a marriage.
Now, when separation comes into play between a married couple, what is the difference there?
It could be because of distance.
Yeah.
Our separation could be you're living different in different directions. You've gone different directions for some time with a reason.
But the marriage still stands.
The marriage still stands.
Okay.
And during that time, no one is legally allowed to go in to jump into another marriage. If you do, and this other one is still not nullified, then that's illegal. So you're on separation. And actually, if you're on separation and someone now finds a mate, you should be very open and tell these people you're on separation, because your other marriage still holds. For us to avoid a lot of drama that comes up when people are on separation, they have moved to another marriage, and then this marriage is nullified, or we see the drama in churches, So when you separate, it's for a time, and it's, of course, with some reasons, and sometimes some rules also.
All right, so with divorce, the marriage is dissolved.
Is dissolved.
Legally and in all ways, you're allowed to go your separate ways. With separation, you are still in the marriage, but are living separately, not together, or at least within the same...
and sometimes it's the court that does that,
okay,
or the elders, or even the couples.
Okay.
The couple sits with a therapist, and they're told the only way out it's for you to separate so that you let the currents, the storm cool and then you can discuss on ways of coming back and the rules that you want to follow.
All right. Now, the other terminology is annulment. And it is used, it's just thrown around I annulled my marriage. But we don't really understand what you're saying when you talk about these things. Abok, let me hear from you. What is your understanding of annulment, and maybe what does it entail, at least legally speaking and emotionally, psychologically, all the aspects that go into it?
Yeah, when it comes to annulment is when you are emotionally detached, both I can call it emotionally detached, but physically present. In that you no longer has a feeling for one another. You no longer has an attachment to one another. So you can actually be able to get out and be able to engage in other things. But let's get to understand something before we get deeper into annulment. Is that the legality of marriage is based both spiritually but also constitutionally.
Yes.
In that when you get into this, you need to be, that's why we require you to be psychologically fit, we need to be emotionally upright, but you also need to be physically of age to make on that decision.
Yes.
So that when you're getting into this, you're getting this with a proper mindset that what I'm getting into has rules, regulation, and consequences. So when you bring it into annulment, it's not something that you wake up in the morning and you feel like, you know what, I thought I loved you yesterday, but I don't feel like loving you today. And so I'm off the hook. But so you need to play within the rules and the regulations, but also the standards of marriage. So annulment is what is psychologically detached, but of course physically, you're oppressed.
All right. Anne?
With annulment.
Your additions to annulment, yes.
Yeah, I could add to that. He's pointed out something very important, that it has to be physical, spiritual, emotional.
And constitutional.
And constitutional. We said from the first definition, we said a marriage also has consent. It has to have a majority age. It has to have...
people of sound mind.
People of sound mind.
Yeah.
Now, what if it happens that someone married a young boy? Like myself, I go out there and meet with a boy of 17 years old, and he says he loves me, and I get married to him.
Yeah.
So that marriage can be annulled, even by the constitution, by the government, by even parents will come screaming at me, Mwalim, now how are you marrying a kid? It can annul a marriage because of those reasons that cannot be, the marriage cannot stand the test of the reasons that it was made. Like there was no consent. You know, some people coerce someone into marriage. Or a girl went to visit a man and the door got locked. And now when we go looking for the girl who was 17, but now you keep her maybe for 2 days and she turns 18, you want it now to be legal, then I can come with my reason. Then I say, no, this has to be annulled.
She was underage.
Oh, yeah, underage.
Yeah.
Or even the person who is involved is crying out loud, you people come and save me. There is abuse here.
Okay.
They are irreconcilable. We are not compatible. So at the end of the day, I'm going to end up a depressed person, a person who is, you know, I'm not myself. I want out of it. There are some reasons which can make a marriage be annulled or be put to an end.
Okay.
Or we can even have a legal annulment. Like a divorce is a legal annulment. Yeah.
All
the
right.
whole marriage.
So annulment can be used interchangeably with divorce, but when it comes to annulment specifically, issues of age, consent, and even whoever oversaw that marriage, the clergy involved, if they're not legally recognized.
Those people who oversee marriage have to have licenses.
Okay.
Actually, currently, the way it is being done is very okay, or it's very firm, yeah? Because even if you're doing it in church, you have to come to the AG's office, register your marriage, and get your certificate and deliver.
Okay.
Then when you, I don't know whether it's a certificate, but what I see is you get some papers you take back to you, and then you bring the license, a copy of the license.
One put it like this. The licensing of marriage is only left for the government.
For the government.
Pastors are only doing it on behalf
They are agents
of the government.
So
Pastors are agents.
if the person who did it is not licensed by the government as an agent to oversee that, then that marriage is automatically annulled on those grounds.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. But also, let's put it clear that when it comes on to annulment, the legality factor come into play.
Yeah. It's what carries the heavier weight in that case.
It's what carries the heavier weight.
Okay.
The illegality aspect, because there got to be something that is illegal in this nature that needs to be formalized or actually done away with. So that's so when it comes to marriage, the legality aspect of it plays a bigger role.
A bigger role?
Yeah, in making it authentic.
All right. Yes. Now, let's now quickly go to, you know, some of the major causes of divorce, especially here in Kenya. And we want to narrow it down to Kenya because, you know, we are here in Kenya. Yes, it is a global phenomenon, but we want to bring it home. And let me start with infidelity.
All right.
And just looking at some recent stats, these are as recent as of January 2019, 5 out of 8 marriages end because of infidelity. And that constitutes to about 41% of all divorcees has been as a result of infidelity. Why would you say it's the leading cause of divorce? In as much as it's plain out there, but we want to hear from you.
Yeah, in as much as people say it rains everywhere, I don't believe in that saying. Because when you put 3 people together and there is no consent of polygamy, of course, these people, it's a crowd.
Yes.
Yeah, basically ni watu wawili, ukibeba wawili, it's okay. 3 is a crowd. Why do I say this could be a cause? Because when there is infidelity, and let people know, I can have infidelity which is emotional. I've not moved out and gone and done the physical thing. I'm chatting. I'm sex chatting people. I'm taking too much of my time out there, emotionally attached to someone else. Because actually, why are you taking your heart away from my life? I came because of the companionship. Then you decide that you're going to be a companion to another person. So this person who is left out, and I don't mean it's only men who do this, even women are doing it. And now why would this person want still to continue with this relationship when you have already gone out? I believe it's because infidelity kills a marriage relationship. Why? Physically, you are not there for the person. Emotionally, you are not there for the person. And of course, where you are going out to get your cookie, that's where you take your money. Yeah. So you take your heart, you take your physical, you take your money, you take your emotions, so you leave this other person left out. Yeah.
So it spills over into other spheres of marriage.
Yes.
All right. Abok, why is infidelity the leading cause of divorce for most couples?
Yeah, allow me to say that, number one, I feel that this word infidelity is a little bit balkanized when it comes to men, in that, you know, if you were to look at it holistically, getting to understand that human beings are social beings.
They are social beings.
And the aspect of socialness is whereby you are, there are a lot of expectations on interdependence, you know, and people try to interdependent with one another. It is to what degree that you measure up your interdependentness and your social aspect that determines your relationship with the person that you are with.
Okay.
So as much as marriage is a concept or a communion of the two, it is necessary to understand that there are people who are going to come in but should not necessarily intrude. The two needs to put to what degree
The boundaries.
or the boundaries that they are put. Now, if you do not clarify the boundaries, you will always keep changing the goalpost. and you know, it is easy to change the goalpost based on what interests you or what makes you comfortable. Why? Because when two people are together, there are chances that there are difference in ideologies.
Definitely.
And when ideologies get a shift on position, people got to shift emotions.
Yeah.
And when they shift emotions, there is a tendency to have a fallback plan. And the fallback plan is where am I understood and accommodate more easily. And so you will actually decide to look on your social welfare into where do I get on this. And so the infidelity is based on the degree of the boundaries.
And also the reasons as to why the marriage came up in the first place.
Very true.
Did they get married to him because I saw the figure, I saw the pocket, I saw the car he was driving?
Your purpose for getting to that union. in the first
Yes,
place.
yes.
So
It's
if,
very
if
important.
whatever you went in, you know, expecting is fulfilled, and then you now get bored, you don't
get
have anything
bored.
more to do with the relationship.
I went because of the figure 8.
Yeah.
Then my wife carries pregnancy, and now she has
changes
cellulite, she
Yeah.
has baby fat, and of course when women are pregnant, there is that hormone women get that makes them look a bit of dull, like groomy, like you don't want to reason.
Yeah.
So if I came only for the happy face, when the face gets groomy, my dear, that person is going to run to the next person that comes their way. But what made you go into that marriage in the first place? Are you getting it? Was it lifelong?
So getting into marriage with the wrong reasons, in most cases, leads to, you know, adultery and infidelity along the way.
Yeah, because it was marriage of convenience.
Okay.
Yeah, but also balkanizing individuals based on lack of value systems that you put in marriage can sometimes bring a misconception. And because majorly in the cases that we actually handle where infidelity is being put at the forefront, you will definitely get to understand that we are tailored differently,
Yeah.
men and women. Men do not necessarily want to answer the question why. You know, and the why question is a big deal to a man. Yet the why question is the in thing for a woman. So when the man is not interested to answer why are you chatting, why are you relating, why are you doing this,
And when?
then there is there is a misconception, and then the judgment. Now, when you have a clear, articulated boundaries and value system that are set in, as long as the medulla parietal is still within that concept, I think there's need for understanding. Why? Because why marriage? Mirror God's image, mutually complete one another, and for multiplying of godly legacy. Are we still within the component of this? And when it is, and to what extent are we out of the operation that you can now call this infidelity a threat to the marriage?
All right. And I think coming to that realization is one thing that most couples struggle with. Because you'd rather block it out than address it.
Yeah.
You know, ignore it until it'll fade away.
We want to sweep it under the carpet.
Yes.
Until it shows the head again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it comes biting, and it bites hard.
It
All right.
bites hard.
Now let's quickly move on to another reason, and this is comes in second at 28.5%, and 1 in every 3 couples have attributed, you know, alcohol and substance abuse to be as a cause of divorce in the Kenyan setup.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Wow, that is happening, and it is really getting out of hand. Substance abuse comes in because the person's the inner self-awareness and whether this person has esteem. And you know, when people have dragged baggage from when we were growing up, and we come with it into marriage, and probably nobody sits their spouse to be down for fear of being or losing this person. And you know the way people sometimes get really old without getting a spouse, and you know it's our African culture. We don't open up and say these are my weaknesses. You know, even in our family, people get mad. You know, the person is going to run away. So people come with baggage to the personality of this person getting into marriage, and we do not understand each other. Sometimes this person may have come with the drunkardness from home. Why? Because they saw when they were little kids their parents doing the same.
It's what they were accustomed to.
Yes, because like, let me bring a situation here which is real case. I've been in schools and I've been principal in a number of schools, and I've dealt with alcohol and substance abuse. And sometimes parents come and look me on the Facebook and they tell me, we take wine after our meals. So, Mwalim, I don't know what is the big deal with you. So it's like they have made it look normal. So when this girl gets into marriage, she will want to continue with her bottle. But is it okay? Is it okay with the other person? And why actually are you abusing the bottle? Because we move from occasional drinking, we go to social, and then we become alcohol abusers or substance abusers. Some may be taking it because they have another underlying issue, and they don't want to open up to their spouse. So they're handling the alcohol to heal or to hide behind the mask of alcohol, but they are ailing. Others are on terminal illnesses. They don't want to open up, and they feel they're feeling left out. Yeah. Yeah. So they want to go out and hide, or some even bring it to the house. So alcohol and substance abuse, yes, I agree with you. It has a very high contribution towards divorces. Divorce. Yes.
Abog, do you agree with what she's saying? You know, alcohol and substance abuse, you know, from your background could really contribute heavily into, you know, how you use it and abuse it. Even in your marriage, it could ultimately lead to you know, your marriage breaking down. And not you, like you.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Too. I don't even know where to start because a lot of things are coming into my mind.
And not just alcohol and other substances.
And other substances.
Yeah.
Very true. Why, Jen? We do not quote, you know. People are using marriage as a dump site.
Explain,
for lack of a better word. Why? Because I feel like the devoid in me can only be fulfilled in marriage. So I'm lonely. I'm going to dump up myself into this man or this woman, and this woman is going to give me comfort and company.
Now, you maybe have been abused?
Yes, yes, or so or we're getting married because of the consequences, or we get ourselves engaged on here, and there's a baby coming on board, and I want my baby to be born in a family setup. So let me hook up with this guy and let's move on, without getting to understand who am I really getting married to.
They don't take time to learn each other?
They don't take time to learn each other.
There's no courtship.
We met in a club, we were drinking and we had fun and we went to sleep together, and I discovered that I'm pregnant. Oh, okay, let me look for that man who may be pregnant.
Who I may not even be aware of the second name.
Well, you're not aware of the second name, you are not aware of their religion, you are not aware of their background, and here you are, someone, you know, went to a club because he's carrying a baggage of stress, distress, and all manner of things, and you also went in with all this, and then you want to dump them onto one another. Now, when someone feels that he cannot be able to carry them out, you resort into where you found me. Now, I always tell the couple, you're better off with a broken courtship than a broken marriage.
Than a broken marriage.
So what you're going to do is get to learn someone. And the best way to learn one another is in a sober manner. Do you have some candid, stress-free discussion that you can actually discuss, even to vital issues? To what extent is your drinking? All right? Because I know what people call courtship is a time of going out together and a bottle on the table and we drinking. All right? What you need to understand that garbage in will always get garbage out.
Garbage out.
What gives you fun at that particular moment, when it is now vented out onto you, will be a disposal on your side. So we need to put facts straight. Marriage does not run away.
It
In
will
fact,
not either.
it will not. It will not. So this showing of desperation, like if you don't marry me, I die. You know, if you are a candidate of death, please die before I marry you. Why? Because I am not ready to get into this with the consequences where I will actually be sleeping in something. You know, and it is not really working out.
All right.
Yes.
But are we, even as parents, are we taking the time to talk to our children about marriages, to tell them what, you know, what marriage encompasses and what, you know, you should expect and what you should bring into marriages, as opposed to just letting them go out there, learn on their own. You meet this girl, you like her, date 5 months, engage, get married by the end of the year, and then they suffer the consequences. Are we taking time to talk with our children so that, you know, we try and break even these generational curses and baggages from your previous lineage?
Nothing further from the truth, Jen, that you know, we on this particular studio, we've actually discussed on this, that what you discuss, what you don't discuss will confront you. What you cannot address, you cannot arrest.
Yeah, you cannot arrest.
And many cases, we do not want to talk issues of sex, issues of marriage with our children. And yet these are fundamental elements that are part of life. And you know, where do our children learn about vital things that are concerning the future? It's in the family context.
It's in the family.
And you know, when every parent out there needs to learn how to raise up children. And raising up children is not about giving them good food, burger, and all manner of things, and taking them to good school. It's about training them to know what life is all about and how to deal with the consequences. Number one, they learn how to love one another based on the way their parents love one another. They learn how to respect one another based on the atmosphere that is in the family. You will discover that a son or a daughter who is raised in a violent family will always try to sort out their problem violently. That one will come automatically. So the way we behave, but also what we talk, determine how our children are going to face life out there.
Okay.
And so it's vital and important to take time and talk to our children on issues of marriage and some of the consequences, and get to alert our children that what cannot work is not a permanent thing.
This is beyond which you should not wait.
Yes.
Yes. And like I would support what Aboka said about children learning and then experimenting. It's about business of monkey see, monkey do. So there is no way I'm going to always be fighting my husband, using bad words and even coming home late. When my son marries, he will expect no better woman than that woman who comes late. And actually he'll feel this woman must insult me for her to show me she's a woman of some muscle. So whatever people see when they are growing up and whatever they go through, we always swear, I'm not going to be abusive when I get married. But you know, that one is from the mouth, but whatever that child suppressed in the subconscious is about abuse.
And it will manifest.
They feel they want to hit back. Like a man who marries, a boy who grows up and marries a woman who gets tough like the mom. He may want to hit that woman very hard because he is fearing when it gets to old age, this woman is going to sit on me like the way mom does to dad. So this girl is suffering and she's innocent because of a boy who got brought up in a malfunctioning family.
Yeah.
So I would say also that brings on board the baggage.
And it catalyzes, you know, if ultimately leading to divorce in so many marriages these days. Now, let's quickly move on to another issue, and this comes in a third position, 20.5%, and this is about money.
Ooh, finances.
Money, 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 money. Either the lack of it or the excess of it.
Yes.
Yes. Let me hear from you, and let me start with you. Why does money play such a big role when it comes to one of the biggest causes of divorce, especially here in Kenya and the world over for that matter?
The world over?
Yeah.
I would say because we are seeing even multi-billionaires calling it quits and people go their ways. Why money? You'd come to ask. When people get into marriage, in most cases, they don't agree on what happens when money is on the high, or who manages money. And let me, at this very early point in this discussion, bring the issue of relatives, money in the couple and relatives.
I think that's an entirely different point, which we'll be getting to in a
while.
while.
I'll get into that. Who handles the money? Where do we take the money? Where do we invest? And if we have to have different accounts, do we have one account that is either can withdraw And if you're going to withdraw, are you going to tell me the reason without looking like you're an idiot? I would use that word. Why you are going to withdraw that money? Money is very sensitive and people don't see it at the level that money is. Why? Because with money also comes a lot of, like impulse buying. What if I go away and Abok goes away, brings a TV. I also go away and bring another big screen. And we never talked.
Yeah.
But all of us went out to do that because, one, we maybe have seen a need, but we never discussed on how to use the money. And did we need a TV before we took a child to hospital? So money is a big issue because of the way it is earned, the way it is handled, and the way we use money as a reason as to why, I'm going to divorce this one. Why? She misuses my money. He misuses my money. Who calls the shots? What if it's only one person who is earning? Did you sit down and discuss, when we go into this marriage, I understand you are jobless for now. If you are the man, you are jobless. I'm the one who is earning. We are not going into it because of I have the financial muscle. When we come together, this should be our money. And we should plan for it as our money. So when someone feels left out, when the other one has too much money, then money becomes an issue.
Yes.
Again, there could be too much money where people did not plan for and they were not prepared for. Yeah, sometimes money surprises people. And now when this money comes, one person feels I've got more right to it, then I can go on shopping sprees and I don't have to involve the other partner, then they feel cheated. You cheated on me with our money. Then this person feels, I'm getting resentful. And finally, people want to go their ways. Yeah, too much money can be a problem. Less money can also be a problem. So the issue here is, how do we plan for the money and how do we spend the money?
All right.
And what do we save?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, Abok, your thoughts when it comes to money as a reason for divorce in this day and time we're living in? Yeah,
I would like to first of all say that we need to understand money. When money becomes a problem, it's because we don't understand money. There are two aspects of money that we need to understand. Is that money has ears and money speaks. You will ask me why.
Does it have eyes?
Whatever. But I know it does two things. It has ears and it has mouth. It speaks. The reason why money speaks is because when you have money in your pocket, you don't even feel hungry.
Really?
Get money and walk on the street. You will feel that the best food you can eat, the best dress you can buy. So it's speaking to you. Someone who has money has a different walking style.
All right.
Are you getting?
Kind
so
of.
money is already speaking to you. You may know, but also money. So money must be managed. Number one, unmanaged money will always manage you. All right.
Unmanaged money will manage you.
So which means money needs to enter into a budget. I don't believe that there is money that is more than enough. Why? Because if you give a rich man money, that's the day he will eat vegetable.
Oh.
When you give a poor man $1 million, that's the day he will not sleep. Why? Because for the poor man, poverty is not in the pocket. Poverty is first in the mind. The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So the reason the way you reason with money determines the way you spend money. So in this context, in that you need to actually budget for the money before you receive it. Or when you receive it, before you touch it, budget for it. If you cannot be able to budget for it, that's why there are people who are called financial consultants.
All right.
You pay them to budget, to plan for you. Why? Because whatever you are not planned for is whatever will plan you. And people who are being planned with money are slaves of money. Now, why is money a contentious issue in marriage to an extent that it causes a divorce? In that money, when it enters, however small it is, and it is not budgeted for, it will be contentious. How do we now make it not contentious? Let us make our priorities right. In life, there are 4 quadrants. There are important things and there are urgent things. There are not important and urgent. And they are not urgent, not important. Now, when you have actually classified your life in those 4 quadrants, you will get to know what to put, where to put urgent and important. There are things which are urgent, but they are not important. But there are things which are both important and urgent. So when you put resources onto those ones, you will discover that though you may have actually spent money, but you remain with satisfaction that what you have spent it on is the right thing. But most of cases, we spend money on urgent but not important. And then it begins to bring conflict in the marriage.
There is guilt.
There's guilt about it. But now, how do you classify these 4 quadrants? There is need for consensus. Trust is a very fundamental thing. In fact, money is always not a problem. The Bible said that money answereth all things. So let us not blame money. The love of money is the root of all evil.
Yep.
Now, when we begin to love money beyond budgeting it for it, then we begin to have mistrust on one another. And that's why couples come and ask me, so Fred, do we need to open a joint account? I say, no, don't open a joint account. Why? Because you know what? You need to be independent on the money so that you can be dependent.
It's trustworthy.
To be trustworthy. Are we getting one another? So you need to, first of all, put the budget on the table, both of you.
Yes.
All right? Because people are good about talking about money. But when it arrives, attitude change. All right?
Yes.
So let us work on our attitude. Let us work on our budget. Then when money comes, it will fit in. All right? Because a man will tell you, as much as your budget, please give me something for the pocket because I will buy people for tea. So let us budget and put on the priorities, right? The most important thing in, and then let us also budget for the other thing. I have a friend of mine who is very rich. Very rich. But when we meet, he tells me, I cannot buy what I've not budgeted for. All right?
Yeah.
I say, you mean you cannot just buy a cup of tea? He said, no, we did not budget for it. So if you want us to take a cup of tea tomorrow, please, let me budget for it. Let us come to a consensus as a family. Then I will buy a tea. So we always know that this man, he has to budget for it.
So when it comes to money, you know, it becomes a problem when there is lack of trust and discipline, between the couple, which ultimately leads to, you know, conflict, fighting, argument, and eventually you decide to walk separately.
Discipline must start with an individual before it becomes a consensus.
Yes.
And also let money not be only what you are bringing into the marriage. Yeah. Because there are some people, there is one woman who asked me, this husband of mine only brought money. Now I can be able to, I'm now able to earn my own money. Where does he go? Where is his position in this marriage? So don't let money be only the parameter you bring into marriage. So have so many other qualifications.
Yes.
Yes.
All
because
right.
in the lack of it, then your needfulness in the marriage disappears.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that is very important. You need to be very clear on what you're bringing into that marriage. Be very clear. Because you do not want to walk into marriage today, 2 months down the line, you're already wanting to walk out because of whatever you brought was no longer needed. And, you know, that's that. That's that. And you did not communicate with your partner. You did not sit down to talk, and especially to do with money, because money is one of the fundamentals of any marriage, anyone. Basic necessity. You need money to survive, but how are you handling that money? Do you trust your partner? Are you disciplined enough to be able to handle that money in the presence or absence of your partner? All right. Now, another one of the biggest another big contributor to divorce in this day and time in living in is diseases. Diseases. STDs, STIs, and HIV has been one, it's actually the fourth one at 10.3%, contributing to, you know, divorces in this day and time we're living in. Let me start with you, Abok. Why has it become such a problem to an extent of leading to divorce, dissolutions of marriage these days, diseases?
Jen, when we are joining partners together, we give them a vow. And one of the vows that is in sickness and in health, in poverty and in riches. Now, allow me to begin by first saying that sickness should not be a license for divorce. Why? Because we need to look at how did this sickness arrive in the first place.
Yes.
If sickness is as a result of mistrust and fornication and all this other thing, then it is not sickness, it is mistrust that has brought sickness. And this needs to be looked at credibly, but also with an understanding, you know, that marriage is something that originates in a godly perspective, and God is a God of forgiveness. All right, we need to look at what are forgiven and what is unforgiven. All right, in that what is the attitude of the person who has actually brought this sickness? Are they remorseful about it, or are they cunning about it? Are they willing to walk in the openness? Because it's not just about going to VCT and discovering that your partner is sick. Then you say, right here, I'm out of this. No, come on, we are being insensible about this, because we need to look at some of the factors. How did this sickness come into? And is it something that we can live with? Okay. Is this something that we can manage within the context? Because you know what? You discover that marriage starts on a consent of the two. But as marriage continue, it's no longer two. There are people who come in, children family members, different people, you know, if the government is in, the church is in, the community is in, because you discover that as Ruth said in the Bible, that your people will be my people and your God will be my God. So you discover that the communities come in and there is a mutual friendship, and that you will discover that, you know, it runs beyond even the two of you. So when you just call it quits, the two of you, there are many who are affected, you know, in this. There may be one person infected, but there are several people who are affected. So it needs to be looked at holistically and get to understand, as you are making this decision, are they affecting us? Then the other aspect is, where did the rain start beating us? All right? It's a vital question.
Look at the root source.
Look at the root source of the genesis of the problem. Where we are. Because unless you look at the genesis of a problem, you cannot get the revelation of the problem. Okay. All right? So the Genesis will give you the revelation. And revelation is not necessarily determination, but it's out, what do we get in this? Because some of the circumstances that are negative in our life has always built us to be better people.
All right.
All right. So let us not look at the negative of the factors to portray the termination of the process.
All right.
Can we make something better out of the situation?
See what you can salvage from that situation.
Yes.
Now, before we have a quick look at the roots, and there are also people who walk out on their partners because, you know, they have terminal illnesses that, you know, could not necessarily be diseases and all, but, you know, they're just terminally ill, which came along the way, but you still choose to seek divorce.
Yeah, there are people who can confidently not stay along, and that's them. Sometimes they just say the only way out to solve this is me walking out. And let me tell you, it takes a very great toll on the person who is ill. And what I would ask people to do sometimes is to see, what if I can give this person some just nice time before they exit? That would help them, and even would help the other people affected. Like Aboki has said, marriages, it's about children, it's about family. Now, when you marry a spouse and you walk out on them at the hardest time, really, are the children going to understand you? Like, are you human? What happens when you also get sick? Or when you get into old age and the children tell you, well, you left mommy or daddy when he got sick. Well, daddy left. Now it's you, it's your turn. We take you to a home for the aged even when you're 60. Because we want to get rid of you and get the property. So it's about you as a person. And what I would insist, and I would suggest, one, when someone is terminally ill or that STI has come on board and now things are not different, they're not the way they were, one thing I would say, let the person who is sick, however difficult it is, let them come out open. Because you're also looking for help. You need my support, please let me know what you're ailing from. Yeah, if we need to use protection, if we are discordant, then of course it means we have to wake up, or one of us has to take care of the other, because we do not want to infect, and therefore we minimize the rate of survival. Now, I would say if someone was never open with let me call like in the case of HIV, I don't want people to by mistake stigmatize HIV in marriages. But if the person who came with it was not open, then that one calls for a divorce will happen automatically.
It's valid ground.
A clear relook.
It's valid
to the engagement.
because you cheated. You cheated even on me on your status. But if you came up or you come out open and you say, now it has happened, I may look at it from the other perspective and I say, well, this is something we can live with. These are the rules and regulations. Yeah, and please, for the person staying, don't stay only to be witch hunting this other person and to holding a, a rod like, oh, you've come late. Okay, you want now to bring another one, another STI, and like that. When someone is terminally ill, please care. Tender loving care is paramount.
TLC.
Yes, TLC. Right. Please take care of that person. I've seen people who have gotten into depression, very psychotic depression, but because of the tender loving care of the spouse, they have come back on board. Okay. I've seen people cope with personality disorders, which are very bad, and because the spouse is there when the other person starts getting sick, and they take them to the hospital, very fast they take care of them, they do therapy for them, then the person comes back. Okay. I've seen people go into stroke. And by the help of the spouse, they've come back into a sustainable and very operational mode. Like what am I insisting on? I don't want people to be left when they are at their point of need.
Yes.
Yes. Right. But also this person who wants help, please open up. I cannot help you, Jane, if I don't know what you're looking for. I cannot give you an exercise book for maths when you're looking for an English one.
Okay.
Please tell me, Anne, I just want a ruled book. And that is what I will give you. So let the couples communication.
Boils down to communication between you and your partner, which we'll be talking about in not long. But let's have a quick look at the roads. It is about 29 minutes to 10, but we have a traffic marshal, Doreen, along Mombasa Road, I understand, at the Bellevue Junction. Let's just check in with her and see the situation before we get back to continue with this discussion. Over to you, Dee.
Thank you very much, Jane, and again, a very good morning to you. Like I said earlier this morning, we'll just be checking for our viewers what will be happening along Mombasa Road as far as traffic is concerned. And right about now, I'm at the Bellevue footbridge, and obviously you can see clear parts. We got here like an hour ago, probably like around 8:10, 8:20 thereabouts, and it was building up of traffic. In fact, it was a very heavy traffic on this lane that is leaving Mombasa Road heading to the CBD. Now, if you may note that our very own President Uhuru Kenyatta had just used this particular route from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport as he was heading to State House, and he obviously had to use the Mombasa Road from JKIA, and that's why there was heavy traffic at that hour of the morning. So that time there was just building up of traffic, but as of now it has eased up. And like I say, quite a number of Kenyans using vehicles, the drivers rather, both private-owned vehicles as well as the public ones. They really just, if I may say, they're just really making use of the traffic signals across our roads, because we've not seen any traffic police trying to control traffic, unlike what we see across other highways, especially in this morning hours. But as of now, it's just swift moving of vehicles across both lanes. Obviously, this is the lane that is leaving the Mombasa Road. This is the estates like Athi River, Kitengela, the South B, South C, heading all the way to the CBD, just showing clear moving of vehicles. And also on the other lane that is leaving the CBD and heading to Mombasa Road on the estates alike, as well as people that are heading to their workstations and businesses across these roads. Also just showing swift moving of vehicles. And also, if you may note, this highway begins at the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. This is where the Lusaka Road, Langata Road connects all the way to Mombasa Road. So this is just where this road begins. And also this road not only just serving the residents that live across this particular area, but also in terms of business, becoming a very, very good road, because especially where I am right now, we are just seeing small-scale business traders trying to make a living from this pedestrian that are using this particular footbridge. All kinds of businesses happening across these areas, small-scale business traders, large-scale business traders. So it really serves as a good avenue, if I may say, or a good road for not just the pedestrians that are heading to their workstations at the CBD or even across Mombasa, but also for the business traders that tend to use these footbridges or tend to use this particular road in terms of just selling their commodities to try and make a living. And also where I am, like I said, at the Bellevue footbridge, If you may note also that this was a footbridge that was constructed to reduce the number of death cases. Now, before the construction of this bridge in 2014, annually there were 1,000 deaths that were occurring across Mombasa Road. Mombasa Road is that, that road that is very busy in terms of businesses, in terms of movement of vehicles, in terms of people. So it was very necessary to construct this footbridge, and there's quite a number of them. There's one at the Nyayo Stadium roundabout where the Mombasa Road begins. There's one here at Bellevue. There's another one at GM, quite a number of them across this particular road, and all of this was just to ensure that the death cases they can get reduced due to the number of death cases that were normally being experienced, 1,000 death cases annually. But now with the construction of these footbridges, that number has gone down because it aids in movement of people from one side to the other. Those that are coming from this side heading to the other side as they head to the estate. Those are coming from the estate coming to the other side as they head to board vehicles as they head to the CBD. So it just becomes a good avenue for them to use in terms of just reducing accidents. But as far as traffic is concerned, it's just swift moving of vehicles. So for those leaving their home areas, obviously for those leaving South C, South B, Kitengela, Aki River, this is the best time for you to leave your house because the road is clear, swift moving of vehicles, obviously showing that for those that are heading to their workstation during the mid-morning hours, they'll be able to get to their workstation as well as their businesses in good time because it's just a clear path. And I believe that this is a situation that will be continuing till mid-morning thereabouts, where we'll be having clear moving of vehicles, and obviously just showing that our roads are clear and a swift movement from either sides of the lanes.
Right. So just as she has said, it now is the best time to leave your house. So if you are anywhere along Mombasa Road, chomoka sahi before things change. You never know with this weather. Now it's clear, the next minute is not. So right now is the best time to leave your home if you are anywhere along Mombasa Road. Thank you so much, Doreen. If we have some more time, we'll be able to check in with her before we wind up the show, but we'll let you know as and when we are able to do that. Now let's come back here to the discussion in studio, and we're looking at some of the biggest causes of divorce in Kenya and Africa and the world over. Now let's quickly move on to another matter, and that is now this one is a bit touchy, and it has to do with infertility. Infertility has, and even from back in the day, it was a problem why so many, let's say if it was the lady who was not able to bear children, the man would move on to have another wife, multiple wives, or the other way around. The woman would leave the man saying, oh, this or that. But it's still a problem in this day and time. Why is it still a problem, yet it is, sometimes it's not within our control? Let me hear from you, Anne.
Let me approach it from this point. Most of the couples, when they're getting married, it's for, like I said from the word go, sometimes we get married only for some reasons, and for the wrong reasons for that matter. I wouldn't say getting married to get a baby is the wrong reason, but why are we basing our marriage on the baby? And if we don't get, and our culture, our African culture, we love continuation, and we get married because we want continuity.
If you get married, you must have children.
We must.
We're living in that setup.
And let us quote the word must.
Yeah.
Then what if does not happen? What if the childbearing does not happen? And we also have another problem where in our culture, it's only the woman who can be infertile. It's only from our culture. So I would want, this is a very sensitive matter, and I would pray and ask the couples, do not expose such an issue to the public. Handle it the same way you would do with diseases, unless everybody is aware of it. So handle it. Try out who is the problem here. And let me tell you, in some couples, when someone tries to get a child and they are not getting, and they go out of their way, out of the setup of the marriage and get a baby, that is a very wrong way of knowing the other person has a problem. Go to the hospital, have someone attend to you, do therapy, and then agree together. Agree. Because, my dear, it's you who has a problem. How do we go about this? Don't decide on that issue alone. People go deciding and marrying second wives and third wives and going out and a woman conceiving from, imagine conceiving out, and then your husband is aware that he's the one who is important. So that gets tough. So I would say this is a very tough issue. Yes, it brings separation and sometimes divorce, and that is so unfortunate. But I would say let the couple handle it before they open up to third and fourth parties. Only go to a doctor and have that thing settled out.
Abog, Is infertility a reason enough, in as much as it is a reality, but is it reason enough to end a marriage when you get into the marriage and find out many years along the journey that, you know, your partner is not able to, you know, conceive with you?
Jen, as I answer this question, allow me not to answer it without explaining the purpose. Why marriage? Three things why marriage. So I said earlier that marriage, number one, must mirror God's image. Marriage, number two, must have a mutual completion of one another. And marriage, number three, must be for generation, you know, for procrastination.
Procreation.
Yes, procreation, I mean, for procreation and building a future generation. Now, marriage must be based on love, paramount. Marriage is not based on law. It is based on love. The law supports it. The Bible said that love covers multitudes of many things. All right? You do not get married to have children. Children are a blessing. Whether you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, you are an Indian, children are a blessing. Is the addition of the marriage. So when the children come, well and good. If they do not come, well and good. But where there is a mutual consent and love, there is way to get children. If both couples are determined to have children, that we are saying we are in love, and in this marriage we cannot be able to get our children, we can have children. But the problem is that people are walking in a lot of deceit and pretense.
And pretense.
Yes. In that there is something that they want, but they are not communicating.
They are not talking.
So they want to use every opportunity to satisfy the flesh. And through this, let me tell you, if you want it, I always tell couples, ukitafuta meno ya kuku utayapata. You know, you will look for you look for it. You'll get it on anywhere. Why? Because today's society, there are children who need parents. They don't have parents. And you can be their parent in that marriage.
Or a guardian.
But also, there are scientific means that are, but there has to be a mutual love. Because those will require, you cannot go to a doctor when you are not in consent. You are
in consent.
In agreement together,
and you are not harnessed on together. So, what do you call it? Lack of children should not be a cause of divorce. But people blame their misguided concept on things that they're not communicating to be the factor here. When there is love and there is consent and there is a mutual understanding of a thing, nothing is impossible.
Okay.
You can have children.
Nothing is impossible.
And let me point out very quickly, some couples even get into marriage and they have a mutual understanding and a decision not to have children. So with relatives and society, when you see a couple not getting children, it's not automatically because they're infertile. Yeah.
All right. Now you just also actually just mentioned my next point, which is the last one that we're going to tackle in terms of, you know, the causes of divorce, and that is relatives and especially in-laws. You find so many couples complaining, hey, mini litoka huko juu ya the in-laws because they do this and this. There are no boundaries in your marriage. That you know, the rest of your family becomes part of your marriage, and at the end of the day, your marriage loses meaning and ends up dissolving because, you know, you did not set boundaries when it comes to your extended family. Now, let's just look at the problem and your advice when it comes to that.
I would say families bring a lot of crowding to the marriage, and therefore decision making gets constrained, finances get constrained, the love gets constrained. Why? Because if I bring on board 3 of my sisters and 1 brother, and Abokia comes into marriage only him alone, then when we want to buy him a suit, my sister has to decide the colors she loves. My brother has to say, no, that guy needs a dark whatever. So when will we ever buy a suit for him?
That he wants.
That he wants. Let me say that relatives, please, when 2 people consent, we can only give them support. But we do not go there and main stakeholders in that marriage. And please, let there be boundaries. I still insist, let there be boundaries. Currently in Kenya, we have a case that is going on about in-laws. Someone is not able to put up with a mom-in-law who came on board and made the girl look like a maid. I would say it feels bad and it brings a lot of resentment. When a husband is not able to come home and rest in his one-bedroom house because there is all of our relatives who are there to just watch. Is he talking badly? Is he summoning our daughter inside? Is he coughing? You know, like even the basic things you cannot do. Intimacy disappears. It runs through the window. Because one akienda kuniguza namwambia, my sister will, is he listening to us? For what? For heaven's sake, what are you doing in my house? I just got married. Let the couples be. We can only give them guidance and support. But we do not become the main stakeholders and decision makers.
All right.
Yes, and it is true, in-laws are causing a lot of breakups.
Yes.
Yes.
Abok, your thoughts when it comes to
Two
allowing
things are very
your in-laws?
fundamental when it comes into playing with the in-laws in marriage. It's called cleaving, living and cleaving.
Yes.
The level and the degree that you live depend on the degree that you cleave. You cannot cleave while it's still attached. That's why even the Bible said that for a man shall live so that he cleave. For a woman shall live, then they cleave. Now, as much as that is happening, let us also get the reality of the African context of the family, in that there are expectations for us, and there are also dependents. That some of us, the whole of our entire family is depending on us, and they don't really care much that we are married. Now, the fact is, as much as they are depending on us, there needs to be boundaries, clearly communicated boundaries on the terms of engagement. This will be able to help us to be a blessing to ourselves, but also a blessing to our families.
Yes.
On that matter, in that it is not that we have to necessarily support and be friends with our family when they're living with us. We can support them and let them feel our love even when they are where they are.
You can love them from a distance.
Not really. Allow them to give us our space as we are giving them our love.
And privacy too.
Yes, and privacy. Because marriage, especially on the initial stages, requires privacy.
Okay.
But also understanding the fact that some of us also grew up with people when they were just, they got married when we were living with them, and they were able to raise their children as they raise us also. So we cannot bury our heads in the sand and say that now when it is our turn, we are very private, that we can actually not accommodate other people when they are in need. So let us just get on some of the guiding principles and the boundaries that need to put together, because the fundamental fact is that marriage is a concept of the two, and we need to enjoy it, we need to enjoy our privacy, and we need to build up one another, based also on understanding that the person who we are marrying does not necessarily come from the understanding background of where I've come from. I may be so much attached to their family, to our family, but that person is not as attached to my family. So we need to clearly put across who is going to do what and who is going to put periphery. I cannot necessarily tell my in-laws not to come.
You cannot.
I will look jealous. And I will look, not in a loving man. So we need to communicate. Who is going to communicate to both our family? That will be able to help us, because at the end of it, we need to have a respectable atmosphere, because we are all independent.
I would also call for a lot of high maturity for the couples and even for the relatives. And if I'm married to a Bok here, for example, let him be an advocate for me in his family.
Yes.
Let me advocate for him in my family.
Yes.
And let me tell my people, and until this point, you cannot cross. And now there's a law.
So have a mutual agreement between you, the couple, on the boundaries that your
Before
side
we
will
go
not
out
cross,
to the people.
and what my side will not cross.
Yes.
All right, now let's quickly look at that term. Let's quickly look at some coping mechanisms and the do's and don'ts when you've finally gone through divorce. And post a divorce is a journey that has to happen. And that is where we find some people struggle to move on from that when you're in that process of getting divorced. Very quickly, some do's and don'ts when you are going through divorce or have already gone through divorce. Let's start with children. When you are from a relationship that had children, how do you cater for them without affecting them, or affecting them the least way possible to protect their innocence and their state of mind? Very briefly.
I would say most divorces come along when the children are already on board, because people get used to one another in their 10, 7, 5, years down the line, and of course, most probably a child is involved. And I would also say that people sometimes, because they are divorcing because of domestic violence, the children have seen it all.
Yes.
So therefore, they have already, in fact, however little they are, sometimes notwithstanding the stress they have gone through, they are already aware and they already want to take sides. What do I want to say here? Have into consideration, don't be selfish. Because
Do's and
couples
don'ts. So
are very selfish.
Don't be selfish.
Don't be selfish. Remember the child. Remember they are the most vulnerable people.
Okay.
Me, I can go my way, I can go and get a job, I can go and get an attachment. How about this child? Make rules. Who goes with the children? Of course, if they are under 18, most probably they go with the mother unless it is the mother who is abusive. Now, do not deny the father
rights to the
the
children.
right to visitation,
Right.
or the mother rights to visitation.
Okay.
Whoever has the financial muscle and is the one who is going to be taking care of the bills, please be timely. Do not let that child be chased away from school. Do not let that child die of sickness because you have the money and you do not want to withdraw. People may move on. How are we going to handle the children even with our other partners? They are going to be stepdads and stepmoms. What are the rules? Where are my children in this case?
The rules of engagement moving
the rules
on.
of engagement.
Okay.
And again, I would ask couples, yes, move on. Adjust yourself that you may be a single parent now for the rest of your life unless you remarry.
Yeah.
So how are you going to handle that as a single parent?
Okay.
And do not badmouth the other partner. This child is so young to know some intimate issues. Please do not badmouth.
Your
They
partner.
need that parent, and to them, this parent is not a spouse. It's a parent,
All right.
period.
Abok, when it comes to seeking professional help, post or during the divorce process and post-divorce process, is it advisable to seek professional help to help you recover and be able to pick yourself up and move on?
Very important because, divorce involves psychological and social elements that are affect
And physical.
that affect our well-being. So it's important to have an advice on matters of divorce. But also, the most important thing is to understand that divorce is a choice, and choices have consequences. So be prepared as much as you're making a choice to also live with the consequences. You will actually have to live with those you love at a distance.
Yes.
And make a deliberate plan on how you can actually get to love them. But also, secondly, get to understand that the two of you are the ones who are divorced. Children are not divorced. So please don't take children through a process of divorce by letting them go through the suffering. As much, keep it as professional and keep it between two of you, because you are raising, I know a great percentage of parents who are divorced would not like their children to go through divorce. So make sure that as much as you are divorced, still get to raise up children in a manner that they can still understand and appreciate marriage, and also build into the marriage.
Right.
That can actually go through when you get the understanding, but also get advice from the professional concept.
Also, forgive yourself.
Yes.
Forgive your spouse for what happened and which never happened. Also, acknowledge it has happened. Start from there. Acceptance. Accept. Plan on the next. Adjust yourself now to this new life. And therefore, advance. But do not advance into the wrong direction. Do not repeat what you did that caused this pain.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And for some couples, acceptance really proves to be hard. You find one has decided to move on, the other one is still holding on to that pain, that anger. They start stalking, and ultimately they even revenge the partner. Your advice when it comes to such, people who will go to unreasonable extents because they have refused to deal with the reality of the situation.
Let such people get therapy, and they get support groups, the family, the friends. And in fact, what I want to insist here, I've seen so many stalkers go to the next level of executing revenge. Therefore, even for the spouse that have separated, please be keen on the movements of the other. I don't mean stalking, but be keen on what is happening. Because immediately after that process and the annulment of the marriage, people are bitter. Because it's something I've invested in. And therefore, I don't want to move out, not as yet. I don't want to let go. Therefore, I mean people go for therapy. Please do a follow-up. And even for the couple, take care of yourself. If you are among the couple that broke, take care of yourself. Some people include even changing cars and changing homes and moving out of, even to some extent, the country. if it is possible.
All right.
Please take care of yourself, stay safe.
And what about those who resort to, now alcohol and substance abuse as a way of coping? Abok.
I think when it comes to divorce, there's need for proper prior planning. When you are planless, when it comes into divorce, you can be messed up. Because there are a lot of adjustments that come into play when divorce comes in. And so you need to clarify and articulate, how are we going to move into this? It does not matter how much you are on a discord at that particular moment and you cannot be able to come on together. But when it comes on to divorce, it's necessary to sit down and get to communicate how you're going to walk into this. And you can divorce and you're not enemies.
Yes, most people do that.
Are we getting one another? It is the terms of engagement that cannot be able to work. And so don't put a lot of enmity, because the person you don't need today, you don't necessarily understand. You will need them tomorrow. And so plan well, plan how things are going to, so that, when you wake up in the morning, you now get to understand that you're both a father and a mother, or you're both a mother and a father. In that aspect is that there's something that you go to do extra. So plan your day, plan your time, plan your finances, plan your social engagement, because there are things that may tap you. And as Anna had said, that you need to accept, adjust and advance. So when you get a proper planning, it will help you to accept the circumstance, but also adjust on the elements on your terms of engagement, and be able also to help you to advance, because life does not stop by the bumps that you meet on the road. But bumps just slow you down, but adjust the speed.
All right.
Yeah.
And they also give you time to readjust.
Yes.
You decide on what next.
But also getting to know that is a learning period. What did I not do right to get myself in this? How can I be able to improve myself so that I don't get myself in the future quagmire that I am in?
And let people not run into another relationship while they're on the rebound of a divorce.
Take time to heal.
Take time to heal.
All right. Well, we have been talking about divorce, which is a thing and a situation that is not openly talked about. It only happens in private, and you will never really understand what it's about until you get there. And that is when you realize the impact that it has on you as a person and the people around you, and even the children that you have from that relationship. So if you know somebody who is going through divorce, help them through it. Talk to them. We're going to upload this interview onto our YouTube platform. They can be able to go back and watch it and see what the things that they can pick up and how to move on. And, just as they said, accept, adjust, and you'll be able to advance forward post the divorce. Well, thank you so much for being part of this discussion. We have been speaking with Anne Geduma, who is a life coach, a counseling psychologist, and also a teacher by profession. Thank you so much for making time to be with us.
Most welcome.
And of course, the only gent with us on set, he is the Fred Abok, our resident analyst. He is a mentor and a motivational speaker as well, and a minister of the word. Thank you so much, Abok.
Thank you.
We do hope that you have been able to learn a thing or two from this discussion that we get to have here every single day from Monday through to Thursday to help you improve on one aspect or one sphere of your life or the other. With that, we just want to call it a day for at least for today. My name is Jane Wamboy. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning from 6 a.m. all through to 10 a.m. for another fantastic edition of Good Morning Kenya. Do have a lovely day and God bless.